So picture this. It's July 1947. Out in the quiet, kinda empty New Mexico desert, something crashes. And what happens next? Well, it kicks off the most famous, most argued about UFO mystery in history. Today, we're going to dig into the legend of Roswell, piece by piece.
You know, when you boil it all down, the whole Roswell thing really comes back to this one simple question. Was it just a plain old weather balloon, or was it something else entirely? This is the core of the whole mystery, so let's get into it.
So, those first 48 hours, it was just complete chaos. You've got a rancher who finds some really weird stuff, then the military makes this huge world-shaking announcement, and then boom, not even 24 hours later, they take it all back. That crazy fast reversal, that's the key, right there. That's the spark that has kept this whole thing going for, what, over 70 years now?
All right, let's rewind all the way to the very beginning, because this story, it doesn't kick off with aliens or spaceships. Nope, it starts with a regular guy, a rancher named Mac Brazel, and some really strange junk he found scattered all over his land.
And the way this stuff was described, it's just wild. Brazel talked about finding these lightweight metal strips, and this weird foil that, if you crumpled it up into a ball, it would just smooth itself right back out. He was adamant he'd never seen anything like it. This clearly wasn't just some scrap metal he'd stumbled upon. This was different.
Okay, so what happens next is what takes this from a weird little local story and blasts it onto the front page of every newspaper in the country. The military gets involved, and they don't just brush it off. Oh no, they do the exact opposite.
And here it is, the bombshell. On July 8th, the Roswell Army Airfield, the RAF, puts out a press release. And get this, they say they've recovered a flying disc. I mean, this isn't some rumor from a guy down the street. This is an official military statement. Of course, the newspapers went crazy with it. For one brief shining moment, the whole world thought, wow, we actually got one.
But just as fast as that story blew up, the military snuffed it out. They almost immediately backed away from that incredible claim, creating this narrative whiplash that has been fueling conspiracy theories ever since.
Think about it. On Tuesday, it's a flying disc. By Wednesday, it's a weather balloon. That sudden, dramatic switcheroo is the #1 reason this story just never went away. For a lot of people, it didn't feel like a simple correction. It felt like a cover-up.
So after 1947, the whole thing kind of just fizzled out. For about 30 years, it was basically forgotten. But then, in the late 1970s, it comes roaring back to life. And this wasn't an accident. You got to remember, this was the post-Watergate era. People did not trust the government. So suddenly, the idea of a massive cover-up seemed a lot more believable. And people who'd been quiet for decades, they started to talk.
And this is where the story goes from strange to absolutely wild. These new accounts, they added all these explosive details. Suddenly we're hearing about a second crash site. We're hearing about the recovery of, well, non-human bodies. Secret military convoys moving wreckage in the dead of night. And get this, witnesses being told to keep their mouths shut by intimidating men in black. This is where the Roswell we know today, the whole modern myth, really takes shape.
Okay, so fast forward to the 1990s. The Roswell story is so huge at this point that the U.S. Air Force basically has to respond. They declassify a new, much more detailed explanation. And they admit, okay, it wasn't a simple weather balloon. But they were still adamant it was not aliens. The real answer, they said, was buried in a top-secret Cold War program.
And that program was called Project Mogul. Now, this was a super-secret operation to spy on the Soviet Union's nuclear program. And how are they going to do it? By using these huge chains of high-altitude balloons carrying incredibly sensitive microphones. The way this thing worked was actually pretty clever. They'd launch these massive balloon arrays way up high, let them drift in a specific layer of the atmosphere, and basically just listen for the sound waves of a nuclear bomb test thousands of miles away. Then they'd have to track and recover all that secret gear. And the materials they used, things like radar reflectors made of foil, yeah, you can see how that might look totally alien to a rancher in 1947.
So when all is said and done, what's the legacy of Roswell? I mean, whether you're Team UFO or Team Official Explanation, you can't deny the impact this incident has had. It's become so much bigger than what actually happened during that 1 week in the desert. So, at the end of the day, you're left with two totally competing stories. On one side, you have the epic tale of a crashed alien ship and a government cover-up of cosmic proportions. And on the other, you have a story about a secret military project during the Cold War, a time when everything was so paranoid that even a fallen balloon had to be wrapped in layers of secrecy. And it's that secrecy that could easily look like something out of this world.
You know, today, if you just say the word Roswell, people know exactly what you mean. It's become this global shorthand for UFOs, for aliens, and especially for the idea that the government is hiding big, big secrets from us. It's inspired a ton of books and movies, and it's literally created a whole tourist industry in a small town in New Mexico.
All right, let's just break it down to the bare bones. What can we actually say for sure? The undisputed facts are pretty simple. Some weird debris was found. The military first called it a flying disc, and then they very, very quickly changed their story to a weather balloon. That's it. But man, the questions that are left. What was that debris really? Can we trust eyewitness accounts that came out 30 years after the fact? And was the secrecy really just about Project Mogul? It's in those gaps, those unanswered questions, where this mystery is still very much alive.
And so that leaves us right back where we started, with the ultimate question. What really came down in the New Mexico desert all those years ago? Was it a simple weather balloon, a top-secret piece of Cold War spy gear, or was it the beginning of the biggest secret in human history? The truth, as they say, is still out there.